He's so curious.
You're a puppy, a new puppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good quality to have. Wants to be with you. Mm. 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 Welcome. I'm gonna just give another moment or two to let Julie find her way. Mm. Mm. Opening our bodies just feels good. Mm. Mm. Welcome. Mm. Perfect. Welcome, my loves. I am so glad you're here. We were just listening to a beautiful song, stretching out, helping us arrive in this moment, because tonight's going to be another night filled with wonder and magic and filled with inquiry, right? And so we're going to have a little slightly different order to our session tonight. Um, it'll be the same, it's just our flow is slightly different. And so I would like us to go ahead and drop right in to a guided meditation. I can see that my throat needs me to drink a lot of water tonight, and so you might have to do that too. But let's begin like we always do. Let's just drop right in so that we can metaphorically and physically clear space, as if you could like put everything to one side. Shifting our awareness and our attention to where it's been, into bringing our attention fully here, and shifting our awareness from ordinary thinking, doing, busy awareness to extraordinary awareness, where we can drop in, and where this kind of awareness starts to fertilize and ignite and catalyze your deeper potentials. And we want to be in this place of this deeper, wider, more expanded, more fuller present awareness, because we're in a process of transformation. And we're here to experience and to practice and to receive the teachings and to hear them on a different level and to feel them on a different level and to be activated and awakened and moved in a way that's deeper. And so for that to happen, we need to move into this place of power, and you can gently move your body and move into receptivity. And as you're moving your body and shifting your awareness to receptivity, you're bringing all your attention back from all the activities we did today, so many activities, pulling all your awareness back to you as if the center of your body is a magnet and you're drawing your attention, your love, your empathy, your power, your appreciation, your grace. You're drawing it all back into the center of your body. And then from there, you're pulling it to the center of your body, and then it's dropping deeper down into your hips, down into your legs, down into the soles of your feet, and into the earth. And with each breath, you're letting yourself be fully here, fully present, letting yourself turn toward your deeper desires, turning toward your intentions, turning toward your commitments to yourself. And you're connecting with those parts of yourself that are wise and powerful and empathetic and loving. And you're bringing all of that love and power, turning it toward yourself. And one more time, drawing your breath into the center of your body. And then as you exhale, feel that love, power, empathy start to fill your entire body. And now feel it start to radiate outward, out to the edges of the room. And allow yourself to start to connect with each other, start to connect with me and with the other sisters in the circle, and sending your energy to co-mingle and co-create together. And feel yourself also connecting with the sisters that we're holding etherically. She'll be listening to the replay and we're holding her. And to the other members of our lives and of our families and of our communities, extending our love and awareness to them, knowing that they too are supporting our greatness. They're supporting our fullness and wholeness and truth of who we are. And so we know that already our life is unfolding in this beautiful, expansive way that's already full of power, already full of grace, already full of wonder. And so, with this sense of gratitude and expansion and connection to ourselves, to the universe, and to each other, we simply say thank you. We say yes. We say, so it is, so it shall be. Thank you. Amen. Ashe. Aho. Blessing this time that we're here together. So while we've just dropped in, let's go ahead and stitch in. Let's go ahead and sense and feel what we're bringing into this circle today, what light and what frequency and words we're bringing into this circle to activate it and catalyze our potentials.
would like to stitch in clarity, focus. Yeah.
Clarity and focus. Focus. Welcome.
I'm stitching in colors,
Colors.
vibration,
Vibration.
and
Ooh.
sound.
And song. Mmm. Mmm. Colors, vibration, and song. Woo.
Color candy and sound wave.
Mm.
I'm stitching in warmth, success, and authenticity.
Warmth, success, and authenticity. Let's ring that in. Warmth and success and authenticity. Mm. 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 Let's see. I'm stitching in a little playfulness, curiosity, and divinity. Playfulness. Well, welcome everybody. The world just got brighter. We all shine together. Okay. So tonight we are continuing to unlock this power center one, right? We're continuing to work with the hidden power block of shame because once we can unlock it, then we free up an immense amount of stuck energy and we can transmute it into free awareness, into energy that we can utilize and direct. And so the flow of our night's going to essentially go like this. I'm going to share a little teaching about integrating magic, alchemy, and our shadow. And then we're going to practice Qigong so we can get into a really relaxed flow state. And then we'll do a seated guided meditation. And I'm going to guide you through a practice where I don't want to tell you all the details right now, but you'll get it really soon, that we're going to go into, it's a little bit of a kinky practice. We're going to get off on and feel pleasure for some of the things that might be taboo and disturbing in our lives. We're going to meet our shadow and find pleasure in our shadow. And then after that, I want to give you a little moment to journal and then a moment to just free dance so that you can have that experience. And then we'll come back together and debrief. And I'll share another little piece and then we'll stitch out, just so you can know that our Qigong isn't totally at the end. Okay. So, and tonight I'm also introducing a new teacher. So a new teacher, her name is Carolyn Elliott. Have any of you heard of her? She wrote a book called The Existential Kink. So she has a PhD, and the name of her book, the whole title is Existential Kink. Unmask your shadow, embrace your power. And it's a method for getting what you want by getting off on what you don't. And so it's kind of a provocative, interesting teachings that she does. And we're going to explore them because they're somatic, like you're going to feel them in your body, and they're fun, and they seem to act fairly quickly. For me personally, it's like a couple little aha moments. Oh, I didn't know, I didn't see it that way. So it's a new perspective. And then since we're wanting to dissolve these aspects of shame, a lot of these aspects of shame are things we keep so hidden. And so that they're just these old patterns. And so when we bring awareness to them, ideally, we can love them and enjoy them, and they'll dissolve. Because these hidden parts of ourselves, are in your shadow. And during our time together, you probably already met your shadow, and we're going to continue to dance with our shadow tonight. And we want to integrate with our shadow, because then you become more capable of receiving the beauty and the bounty and the good stuff, because then you stop accidentally, unknowingly pushing it away. Like, we don't mean to push things away, but we're doing that all the time. And so this practice is at the heart of manifestation. This is what magic is. This is what alchemy is, right? And there's a magical tenet, a worldview. It's practiced in Qigong. It's practiced in a lot of philosophies. As above, so below. As within, so without. So this means that reality is a holographic fractal. And the changes that you make within yourself have dramatic effects on the external world. And because the external world is truly not separate from your internal world, right? So in other words, magic is possible because of this fractal holographic nature of reality. And when you change one small thing inside of you or one small thing in your environment, you automatically change something that's really large in the whole world. And so this means that we're never not doing magic. We're always doing magic. We're always exerting influence on. You see us in Qigong, we do the pebble in the water. We're always making ripples, right? It's just that habitually humans, we do it in a way that we're pretty boring, like we're just so repetitive that we're real boring, or we're destructive, and primarily we're just unaware and we're unconscious. So our world is not separate from our psyche. We're in that holographic world. And so we're a part of a continuum, part of a weaving. And mastering this type of practical magic involves learning what changes we make within ourselves, and then and what changes we make within our environment are the ones that are corresponding to the changes that we want to see in our outer world. And so this has such a transformative power because it deals with the integration of your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. And so why does that matter? Why does integrating your conscious mind and your unconscious mind matter so much? And it's Carl Jung, he's discovered, he says a lot of them pretty amazing things. And one of it is that our conscious mind, our identities, the way that we think of ourselves, the way we imagine who we are, is just the tippity top of an immense underwater iceberg of our actual psychic totalities. And under the surface is this gigantic, fascinating, disturbing, wondrous iceberg that we are. And so we're just going to kind of get to meet her a little bit more. And so there's this basic formula of alchemy. And so the basic formula of profound alchemical change is solve et coagula. So what that means is to utterly dissolve. And so that is the solve part. So the existing form, we want to utterly dissolve the existing form and then carefully bring that dissolved form and then that purified form, and we want to bring it together in a whole new potent organized manifestation. So that's called coagula. So we want to dissolve it, solve, and then we want to let those pieces reorganize and then come together, coagulate in a new way. So caterpillars, which completely dissolve totally into goo inside their cocoons and then recoagulate themselves into butterflies, are the perfect example of this kind of alchemical change that happens in nature. And I just learned this the other day. The English word for psyche means the soul or the mind. And that comes from the Greek word, which is psyche, and it means butterfly. I didn't know that. And so I don't think that's a coincidence, because human souls, like butterflies, we kind of start out as this like wormy insipid forms, which are still cool and whole, and then we dissolve, and then we reform. And then when we reform, that's when our full glory emerges. That's alchemy, that's transcendence, right? And so most of our popular manifestation methods, and the way that I always did it before, focused mainly on the coagula phase of the solve et coagula formula. So like when you think about visualizing, praying, affirming, vision boards, collages, charging your crystals, doing love and kindness meditations, all those are awesome. Those are time tested. They're very effective. They're in the coagulating phase of manifestation. So they're bringing things into manifest form. The only challenges, and what I wasn't doing before, is that when you make a bunch of light and you haven't dissolved your shadow, it just also makes your shadow become really big too. And if you haven't done the part where you're solving and dissolving and solve, if you haven't dissolved that part, and then the underlying unconscious shadows and those patterns and those desires and those qualities, and they just keep staying. And if you haven't dissolved any of that stuff, then all the visualizing and all the affirming is just going to bring kind of shells of what you want, right? Without bringing the full, genuine, satisfying fulfillment. I mean, and I absolutely experienced that in my own life. I don't know if you have. Because in my previous attempts, I didn't do the solve part. And when that happens, if you're like me, you get really frustrated and then you lose enthusiasm. And I never used the word magic at the time. I only just started using the word magic like in public, because I was always like, too much of my shadow part would have moved away from that. And so now I'm facing my shadow and using language and words that I wouldn't have used before, and I'm fine with it. And guess what? It makes me feel good. That's part of this practice. So essentially, this practice is going to bring you in touch with the solve part of the equation, and we're going to dissolve, we're going to uncover, and then we want to embrace and love our shadow, and then ultimately bring it to the light. So are you willing to meet your kinky shadow side? Okay. Here is just, I want to have a little bit more teaching and then we'll get into it. So you see, when a person doesn't know how to become conscious of their own vast unconscious, which most people don't know how to do, they don't even have the faintest idea, they tend to be controlled by it, meaning that their lives are dominated over and over by limited and stubborn patterns, right? And it's kept into place. And this is what Carl Jung says. He calls it like this. He says, until you can make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. He also points out, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this journey together. We're here to not just simply imagine figures of light. We're here to make the shadows conscious in a fun and sexy, unorthodox way, and they then will transform and become light. And so this is tricky because these are deep, shadowy desires and curiosities. These are in your unconscious. So that means we don't know that they exist. So it's kind of hard to do. And most of the time we don't even recognize them as ours because these are so taboo that they're disowned and they're repressed. And so what happens when we get all these taboo desires, you know, and we so we have all these desires, and so then they're come into our lives and we don't recognize them as fulfillments of our desires. Instead, we see them as problems, as our conscious mind sees them as things, bad things that are happening to us. We don't necessarily recognize that it's a fulfillment of a deep desire that we have. And so it seems like sometimes things are happening to us outside of us, like it's something that's happening to you. And there are many, many patterns, right, that affect our caterpillar-like lives. And let's see how many of these we can recognize in our own lives, or in your family members, or in your friends. So here's a long list. Only being able to earn a certain amount of money each month, no matter how hard you work or how many hours you work. Only being really attracted to a partner that turns out to be pretty much like your dad who was a jerk, or your mom who was mean to you, or the first person who broke your heart, or hearing that mean voice of your third grade teacher shutting you down in your head every time you try to create, and so you don't, or overeating or drinking or smoking or taking drugs or alcohol to cover up feelings of guilt and shame and loneliness and frustration that seems endless, or disliking yourself and your body no matter what your shape is or how old you are, or perpetually feeling victimized in your life, like your life would be good if only these other rude people, meaning like your family or your boss or your spouse or your employees or your government or the racist or the capitalist or the whoever's, would just stop messing with you and stop being on the news and causing a war. You might have all these great plans for the future, but never really get around to doing them and taking the first steps, or being really sensitive and feeling like everything is being directly personally at you and taking everything really personal. Habitually seeking approval, doing things you don't want to do, and picking a fight with your partner just when things just got good. I mean, you get the idea. But you get the idea because none of these patterns are original. None of them are original in the least. And there are literally billions of humans that suffer from them. And they've been passed down from our family, from our culture, from our governments. You remember we got handed that chalice? These are inheritances of our traumas, of our guilt, of our shame. They're very, very repetitive. They're predictable. Most of us have a few of these patterns running at all times. And most people in the population never manage to shift out of them. Right? Because dissolving unconscious patterns and making them conscious, thereby integrating with your whole being, will allow you to wake up and come out of this powerlessness. And so then we can then become the captain of our ship, and we can orient to a new North Star across our sea. So that's why we're doing this. But once you do this kind of solve work on your own unconscious, all these well-known methods of visualization and prayer and affirmation, then they start to work really beautifully, really quickly, really more rapid. And so we want to consider your unconscious, thinking about it rules not just your nighttime dreams, but it also, to a great extent, really a far more greater extent than we want to admit, it rules our patterns and our desires of our waking experience. You know, our day-to-day waking experience is also like a dream, right? It's more dense and more slow moving than our nighttime dreams, but it's still a dream. And when we know how to consciously, deliberately work with the contents of our unconscious, we can gain a degree of control over our dreams, just like a lucid dreamer starts to gain control over their nighttime dreams, just first by simply becoming aware that they're sleeping and that they're dreaming. And so this work of becoming profoundly skillful, lucid, and empowered in your dream life and your waking life, this is exactly what we're doing. And this practice offers this life altering, life altering, life changing, shadow integrated practice. Because what the difference between EK work is a little bit different than feminine power work. Existential kink is called EK. Feminine power, while Claire will admit that there's unconscious, she doesn't ever really go into the shadowy, dark part. And she will extend love to it, but she won't extend like Shakti, sexual, primal life force energy to it. It's almost like, it's a different approach. It's like love and a different flavor, is all I'm saying. So they go together. But this is not a new perspective at all. Because if you think about all these schools of tantric Gnosticism, think of the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Western esoteric traditions, there's been an emphasis on learning how to stay present in really high sensation. So by high sensation, I mean that both intense physical feelings like pain, like pleasure, and also intense emotional feelings like anger, fear, jealousy, lust, bliss. So tantrikas, the ones that practice tantra, therefore they tend to meditate on intensely charged subject matter like sex and death. Those are their top two topics. And they focus on learning how to transmute these raw energies of emotion and instinct, especially with sex and aggression. And they transmute it and transform it into luminosity of free awareness, right? So the fundamental tantric idea is that it's important to work with these strong energies of attraction and aversion, pleasure and pain, to facilitate this awakening rather than trying to avoid them. Because avoiding desire and aggression and socially taboo experiences doesn't help. Avoidance only deepens the trap of aversion and attachment, and it causes the wheel of illusions to just keep on spinning. And so that's what we're going to do in this practice. We're going to focus on the taboo territories of the unconscious, and we're going to stay present with them and stay in the high sensation that's there, and then just enjoy the experience, and then allow the experience to transmit and transform on its own, right? And so when we do this, we're taking a theory and then we're putting into concrete application, and we're putting that alchemical truth that's on the emerald tablet, as above, so below, as within, so without. We're making that, embodying that. Because we're about to get into our practice, but I just want us to think about this for a minute. Is like your conscious mind, the part of you, your ego, the part of you that usually thinks of yourself as who you think you are. Your conscious mind doesn't want any of this bad stuff. It doesn't want any of the pain. It doesn't want any of that, right? And so our conscious self, our ego, believe that instead of failure and humiliation and poverty and illness and rejection and sadness, we would much rather have wins, success, wealth, health, romance, joy. That's what we want, right? But then the Buddha observed that all these sentient beings, every sentient being on the planet, trees, animals, all the humans, we all want to be happy, right? But all sentient beings suffer. So in other words, it seems that in life we end up getting the opposite of what we say we want. And you see people, they're so wealthy, they have everything, they've got all the good stuff in the world, and they're still miserable, right? And so to answer that, her explanation is, as humans, our whole selves are always reflections of the divine totality, as above, so below, as within, so without. We're microcosmic reflections of the total holy macrocosm. And as such, we are highly curious and desirous for the universe and for the full spectrum of potential experience, of both the painful and the pleasurable, of the evil and the good, the ugly and the beautiful. I need to let that sink in for a minute, like, because I would say, I don't want evil. I can see myself, even as I say it, go, "Ah, is that right?" So, and some ideas that we rarely think about is that we rarely get what we consciously ask for unless we do that deep work, but we always get what we unconsciously ask for, right? And if you're curious as to what you unconsciously want, all you have to do is look around your life. All you have to do is look around your life, because everything that you want, you have right now. Everything your unconscious wants, she gets. And as long as we insist that we absolutely don't want any of the dark stuff, any of the freaky and the unpleasant things in our lives, a major part of the full spectrum of human curiosity gets cut off and repressed and denied and made into unconscious. And this is bad news for us, because desire and curiosity and the unconscious have so much more power to manifest in the material reality than our conscious, good ego self, ego approved desires do. And so we need to learn how to own up and take personal responsibility of the darker side of human curiosity and search for deeper, shameless aspects of it, and really be willing to enjoy it and not be so repulsed by and pushing away some of the scary stuff that we think we don't want. Because in her book, she talks a lot about things, and I just wanted to give this one axiom, and then we'll go into our practice. This one axiom is saying that having, if you have it, is evidence that you want it. Having is evidence of wanting. And so that's a little bit like uncomfortable, especially when you have hardships in your past and in your present. And it's kind of jarring to consider that any of those things could possibly be something that you wanted, right? But again, you have to remember, it's not your conscious mind that wants it. Your conscious mind doesn't want any part of any of the difficulties or negative patterns. It's the unconscious part of us, the part of us that we don't identify with, the part of us that still impacts our lives even though we don't identify with it. And so having is evidence of wanting is another way of just rephrasing the quote that Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and call it fate. And it's another way of saying what I always say, life is responding to you. And then Jung also explained in his work that your unconscious is this fertile, receptive part of you. The unconscious is generative because of the emotions and the symbols and the attitudes within it. That's what creates the synchronicities and the meaningful coincidences that shape up our experience. So whatever desires that are in your unconscious will be born, and they will happen. And the result of those desires will seem to come toward you in this wow, that's weird, unfathomable, outside of your awareness way, right? And so there's some good news, is that when you do the uncomfortable work of making this conscious awareness of your desires, and you start to give them you start to give them permission, or you don't have to actually act on these things. You're just doing it only within a meditative practice. You're not going out and doing all the rageful things that you want to do. You're just allowing yourself to be the person that feels that way, right? So you give yourself a level of approval for feeling that way, not for behaving inappropriately, right? Meaning, I'll get into that later. But what I want to say is that I don't want you to ever feel like you're horrible because you wanted this, right? Because shame and blame are highly counterproductive to integration work. And shame and blame is not at all something that is, it's shame and blame is what shuts down the magic, right? And what happens when you start to shame something and blame something, you start to repress it more and repress it more. And so it becomes this more festering. So the purpose of the axiom, having as evidence of wanting, is not to create shame and blame, but it's to have an excavation tool so that you can gently and lightheartedly and humorously start to dig and look for the unconscious desires, look for those hidden jewels, look for those weird oddities and curiosities that are shaping your experience. And then once you find them, then you become massively empowered to own those desires. And then you start to feel this deep sense of sovereignty and agency. And then you start to have this change in your inner experience and then in your outer experience. So I'm inviting you to consider the idea when you think about your area of intention that you're bringing into this practice, or any current situation in your life, and especially those situations that tend to be reoccurring over and over in that annoying pattern, like we talked about before, bringing in only a certain amount of money, dating the same kind of person, having the same problem with a partner, having the same problem of not having a partner, right? These patterns are the result of the ways that you're already doing accidental magic. And they just represent actually a beautiful fulfillment of a deep desire in your unconscious. You're actually fulfilling deep desires, right? And so there is one other piece to this. You have your personal consciousness and then transpersonal, the collective, right? So when we're talking about these annoying patterns that keep reoccurring, especially for you, and it doesn't seem like other people in your family and your community have this exact same pattern, well, then the chances are that it's yours, right? It's your thing to deal with. Versus when we talk about this endemic human problems like war, like tonight and today, there's a lot happening in our world, and racism and ageism and sexism and child abuse and all those big horrifying things. The odds are that those are collective unconscious issues, right? So all those things I just mentioned, all those things are results of a millennia of unintegrated, repressed, denied shadow desires of individuals that have been conglomerated into this massive collective force. So that's the collective unconscious. That's why there can be some things that seem so far out there, and then you have your own patterns inside of you. But one of the best ways that we can address the collective shadow is to do the work and to do our work to become aware and to integrate with our own personal shadowy, trippy, sicko, weirdo desires, right? And find some ways to merge with them and love them and transform them, and then share this with other people that want to learn it, and then so they can do the same. And then ideally, we can then improve our imprint, our impact on the collective consciousness, right? So we are about to start our Qigong practice. And I'm curious if you're familiar with shadow work and what insights might be opening up for you.
I've actually listened to that audiobook a
Okay,
few years.
cool.
Yeah, and it really resonates with me. I've always been drawn to going into the darkness to heal, because we normally try to avoid it and go away from it. But I find that if you don't face it and go into it and also process the grief that's below it, then you don't transform it. And that's where I found the most healing in my life, in order to release patterns and free up more space for the things that I desire to truly desire to come in.
All right. So you're familiar with this practice then?
Yeah.
I figured you were. That's why I was like, I think you started to you showed me the book of Montauk Chia, which is a little bit different than this, but still I was like, oh, she's into tantric, she's probably into this. And so I kind of wanted to bring.
I actually trained in Tantra yoga in Ecuador in 2014. I got my yoga teacher training in it's a Kuala Tantra tradition. And so it's been the most healing path for me, because it's been about tapping into pleasure and also holding space for the darkness, like the yin yang, like it's all there, and it's all like, yeah. Just not of being avoidant of it, but taking it into your whole being. And then something else you said really resonated with me. I've always been super avoidant of like magic or those kinds of things, because I'm like, oh, that's not real or whatever. But just recently, in like the last year or so of my life, actually the last month or so, started using the term practical magic, because I agree with you. There's like, once you develop a certain level of awareness and self-healing, you can bring magic into your life, but it's created with a certain amount of intention and ritual and things like that. Like, it's not just like you said something like just vision boarding and things like that. It's not going to happen unless you have all of this other processing and training behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything you've said really resonates with me. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then, since you have such experience with Tantra, as we go through this practice, and especially we'll have another time to share at the end, if there's anything you want to bring in to like kind of help us all, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's so much that resonated with me. The butterfly. Yeah, I was looking for this butterfly. I find it. I just printed out recently. I had many visions about butterfly, and I really like the quotes that you read about Carl Jung. I bring consciousness to the shadow. Yeah, it's very transformative, and it's very healing. I felt like bring like huge waves of healing to like all the people in our life, because when we think about a certain scenario happen, it's not just me, not just that person, it's collective consciousness that happening in that dynamic of that memory picture frame. So as we're healing our shadow, we are healing this collective consciousness. It's just transformative on the quantum level. That I'm very resonant with. And also the Julie was sharing about this Tantra. I forgot who shared the book, the Healing Through Tao, that book.
It was Julie who shared it from Montauk Chia.
Yeah, I was listening to that book. It's really good. Thank you for sharing that. I had a huge Kundalini awakening. So much. I don't know whether I shared in other class earlier session, but I felt like this divine masculine energy. I'm calling in all my collective divine masculine energy in. And at the same time, I'm nurturing this divine feminine, like my body is a green valley, this huge vast valley, just welcoming and sensing and feeling this beautiful dance of the masculine and the feminine together. It was beautiful. And that was the first time ever I actually sensed like the whole body, not just sensing the orgasmic sensations throughout the whole body. And I can instantly sensing the density, which part of my body there's density, which part of my body there's a cord, density cord, like who corded in which part of my body. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I can make love of the cord and soften it and kissing it and melting it away and just spreading love juice to all the energy field of all the cord and density and just melting all of them away. And yeah, and healing everyone in the picture.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, make love to the pain. Make love to it. And you know, sometimes we feel powerless over like what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia, like what can you do about it? So it's really, there's so many times we feel powerless. And so at least there's something we can do, and one small thing in our world can ultimately improve the bigger. I do believe that is true. Might not happen instantly, but it's way better than feeling powerless. It's feeling somewhat empowered. Yeah, about it.
There's one more. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was.
There's one more come to me. I'm still meditating on this concept. I was reading recommended by a teacher. He was talking about this book is talk about like LSD. This Harvard professor in his own study, he used LSD to expand his consciousness, but it wasn't like supported by the government, so he did it with the support of his wife, and he described his sensing and expansion of his mind. It's kind of very similar as I'm in my meditative state of mind. I never tried any drugs, but I realized that if he used a like substance as a way of portal to open expansion of his mind, I can reverse my psychology for all the Western pharmaceutical vaccination. Everything I put in my body is my own devotion of awakening, of expansion and openness. Everything I take in, everything I breathe in, every information, everyone in my life, every circumstance, I'm taking a dosage and determination. I'm using it for expansion and opening. And instead of fear of disease and fear or running away and fear of death.
Well, except I hear that. And in this practice in the shadow, you say, oh, I'm afraid. Oh, what am I afraid of? What does fear feel like? Oh, I'm okay that I'm afraid, right? So there's some little bit of difference right there. Not to cut you off, going into the shadow, it's not to necessarily highlight and just like give extra emphasis to something, yet it's to not at all deny the fear. It's to recognize fear and pain and all those icky things, jealousy, greed, lust, all that stuff exist inside us. And to feel it and feel it as it is. We'll do the practice. We're about to do the practice, and love it as it is, as pain, like as it's painful, loving it as pain, and then something can happen. But so I'm just going to leave it with that where the fear is there for a moment. Like let it be. Let the fear be there for a moment.
Yeah, it's kind of like metallic earth field. You feel the dark, the white, but it's like some kind of rhythmic dance.
Yes.
You're riding on the metallic webbing of the earth, magnetic wave. We just surfing in the wave.
Well, yeah. We're about to tap into the wave in just a second. So let's see, Taylor, is there anything you wanted to say before we practice Qigong?
I'm going to just do Qigong.
Okay. So in this Qigong practice, we're going to practice for about about 20 minutes or so. The entire intention of this practice is to loosen our joints. We're going to loosen our joints, go into our hips, and then we're going to go into the microcosmic orbit so that we can tap into the flow of energy that naturally occurs in our body. And then when you come back to your meditation practice, that you're able to sense and feel the sensations in your body. Okay? So let's find your feet. Yes. Take a moment to find your feet. Bring your awareness once again to your breath. Once again to your body. As you inhale and exhale, feel yourself start to arrive in this place. I always notice that I tend to sweep my hands through my environment, gently sensing and feeling this quantum field. And this practice this evening is to really tap into our senses. Hearing the music, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your clothes on your skin, feeling the breath enter your body, feeling your body spontaneously, softly move. Noticing any smell or aroma. Taste. Bringing your awareness to your abdomen as you breathe nice and deep. Feeling yourself start to arrive here even more, pulling yourself in even more toward your center. Giving a humble bow. Letting go of your thinking mind. Letting go of the ego mind. The one that wants to figure it out, and letting go of the good girl. The desire to do it right. To be pretty. To be making money. Letting go of the notion really that any of it actually matters. You know why you do Qigong? Not to be enlightened one day. You do Qigong because you like it now. You know why you work? Just work because you like it. Make art because you like it. Slowly rise up because you like it. Go ahead and step out, and we can start to activate this energy. We're alchemists, right? So we have formulas. We want to activate this energy sensation in our body. This energy is always here. We're just bringing our awareness to it. Shaking gently. And as we shake gently, I want you to shake out your wrists, palms of your hands and your wrists. And I'm going to come closer because you don't need to see my feet exactly. And go ahead and change the angle of how you shake your wrists. Get creative with how you shake your wrists. Now start to shake out your elbows. Change the angle of how you're shaking your elbows. Now your shoulders. Bringing your shoulders to the front and to the back. One to the front, the other one to the back. changing up the angle, shaking that. Now shaking, and you can kind of feel your chest and your breast move a little. You shake, you can kind of feel your jaw loosen. Feel your belly shake. And your glutes shake. Feel your pelvis, your perineum. Feel your thighs, kind of the muscle and the flesh on your thighs shake. Beautiful. And let's start to open up our spine. Feel your feet on the ground. And as your feet are connected to the earth, they push off the ground. And they send this energy, this force up through your feet, up through your legs, up through your hips, up through your central channel. And then it radiates out through your arms. And start to turn and look behind you and gently pound your kidneys and your lungs and looking behind you. And as you look behind you and as you go further, you're creating more space, more opportunity for sensation to be felt in your body, for energy to move through your body. And as you exhale, let out a breath. Now start to slowly let this movement dissipate. Let this movement dissolve. Let it transform into stillness on its own. Starting to feel your body slow down. Find stillness. And even though your body is starting to stop, there's still movement. There's still circulating energy. Sense and feel. And now we're going to roll out our joints. And so shift your weight over to your right leg. Come up onto your toe. And bring your awareness down through your body, down to the inside of your ankle. Base leg is stable on the ground and your mind is inside your ankle, polishing your ankle like your ankle's a gem. Like your gorgeous, beautiful body is a gem and you're lubing it up, polishing it up. So with your breath, bring your awareness now to your knee, staying in that same direction. Now your mind is in your knee as you're polishing your knee. Now bring your mind to your hip as you're gently lubing your hip. Feel the difference between each joint. And let the movement flow back down to your knee, back down into your ankle. And then let this movement get so small that it stops and then go the other direction. Polishing your ankle. And now your knee. And now your hip. Now let this wave of movement spiral down to your knee, down to your ankle, and let that energy pour out through the soles of your feet onto the earth as your movement slows way down. Take it out. Set it down. As you set it down, you root down and stand up at the same time. Come up onto your toe. Bring your awareness inside your ankle. And with your breath, so softly, so sweetly, caress your ankle. And rotate, make circles, soft circles. Smoothing out, polishing, sensing and feeling any sensation. And greeting any and every sensation with curiosity. Now your knee and your hip. There's no shame, there's no blame, just an appreciation for the sensation. Now back down to your knee, back down to your ankle. And now let that movement pause and then go the other direction. Bring your awareness now to your knee and to your hip. Back down to your knee, back down to your ankle. Let that energy pour down through the soles of your feet, shaking it out, setting your foot down. Placing one hand on the front of your dantian, the other on the back. Your back, this is your door of life. The front, just below your abdomen, is called your false dantian. Your dantian is actually in between those two areas. If you could draw a line from your hips, be down below your belly button. And so let's bring our awareness down into our pelvis. And the invitation is, if you want to practice reverse abdominal breathing, you can. That means when you breathe in, everything draws up and gets tight. And when you breathe out, everything relaxes completely. You can do that. If you do that naturally on your own, do that. If it takes a lot of effort, then don't do that. You just breathe normally. But as you inhale, tilt your pelvis back, and then tilt it to the right side. Now, as you exhale, let your pelvis come forward to the left, and then inhale back. This is a small, articulate breath. As you inhale, draw your pelvis back. As you exhale, let your pelvis move forward, making small, soft, round circles, coordinated with your breath. Now your mind is in your pelvis. You're inhaling as your hips roll back. Exhaling as your pelvis rolls forward. And this is a fairly small breath, small circle. Other parts of your body are moving, but not that much. You're in your pelvis. You're in your womb space. You're in your sanctuary. You can feel your genitalia. As you inhale, especially if you're breathing in and tightening, you're feeling energy starting to circle and spiral in this area. Now, staying exactly the same pattern, same circle. This time when you inhale, and keep moving. And at the peak of your inhale, hold your breath until you get to where your hips are at the back, like you would naturally inhale. And then when your hips come forward, exhale. And then when you're ready, you inhale again. Hold your breath at your natural place where you would inhale. Or, exhale. Hold your breath until the next point where you would exhale, and then go ahead and exhale. One more time, inhale. Hold your breath. Make your circle. And then exhale as your pelvis comes forward. Now breathe normally and start to spiral outward. Now you're utilizing more of your body. Bring your awareness to your thighs, to your pelvis, to your perineum, to your, if you can imagine, your ovaries and your uterus, your fallopian tubes, your vaginal canal, your labia, your clitoris, your thighs, your hips and back and breath. So softly, inviting any and all sensation that's present, exploring it with a curious mind. And now starting to spiral back to center. Slowly spiraling back to center. It takes you a while. You gradually make each spiral a little bit smaller than the one before. Coming back to your breath, inhaling as your hips go back. Exhaling as they go forward. And now come back to your small circles, still staying in that same direction, inhaling as you go back. That, and then exhaling as you go forward. Inhale. This is the yin spiral. It's going counterclockwise. This is the dark, receptive, fertile, unconscious. Holds a lot of information here to sense and feel and discover and uncover. Making your movements so small and so slow that you come to a place of stillness. Sense and feel any pulsations or energy in your womb, in your pelvis, in your body. And now, when you're ready, inhaling, tilting your pelvis, your hips back, exhaling to the left, exhaling to the front, shifting to the right, inhaling back, making small pelvic circles, going clockwise, Inhaling back, exhaling forward. Smooth, soft. Notice any subtle differences in how your hips move, how your body feels. Inhaling back, exhaling forward. This time, as you exhale, exhale out and then hold your breath. Keep moving your pelvis. Hold your breath until your body naturally moves to the back. One more time, we'll do that again. You're inhaling to the back and then exhaling to the front. Complete your exhale. Hold it. Make a complete cycle. When your pelvis comes back, inhale. Exhale. Exhale completely. Hold it. Inhale when you come back. Complete your exhale. Hold it. Inhale on the way back. And now spiral outward in all directions. And let your pelvis move big and wide, circling around as far as your range of motion wants to go. This is the path of the sun. This is the path of your consciousness. This is the path of Yang. Sensing and feeling any sensations in your yoni, in your perineum, in your labia, in your breath, in your clitoris, in your hips and thighs and back and legs. And now start to spiral back home, back to your center. Back to your center, making your movements smaller and smaller until you come back to your hip circles. And now making those even smaller and smaller until you come to a place of stillness. And sense and feel the energy circulating through your body. And now the hand that was behind you, go ahead and bring it in front of you. And imagine you're holding this chi ball. You have a chi ball in your dantian, in your pelvis, and you have one in your hand. And we're doing spine wave. I'm realizing you've not done this with me, most of you. I know some of you have. Daisy has. So spine wave, I'm going to turn to the side just so you can see me. Spine wave is a very soft, undulating movement that starts with your pelvis. So as your pelvis comes back, your hands come up. As your pelvis comes forward, your hands come down. Beautiful. So this spine wave, I don't want to make it too tricky, so don't worry too much about your hands. Tonight's practice is a shorter practice, so what I want you to do is breathe And feel your pelvis undulating. And as your pelvis moves, it sends energy and movement up your spine. And as the energy and movement goes up your spine, then your arms respond at the appropriate height and which feels good to your body. Your arms are merely responding to the wave that's undulating up your spine. So if you want to have your hands small or at your heart level or up, that's completely up to you. So now you're getting this pattern, right? So now let's bring our conscious breath to this pattern. I'm going to bring my hands down a little smaller. So this breath pattern, technically it starts at the front of your abdomen, the first breath as you exhale, but we're just going to start it for the ease of the pattern. Start it at your perineum. So you know where your perineum is, the place between your introitus and your rectum. When you make a kegel, make a nice kegel and then relax. And you feel that muscle, that's your perineum. So go ahead and as you inhale from that point, inhale and draw the energy up your back, up to the top of your head. And then as you exhale, let the energy flow down the front of your body, back down to your perineum. So that's the pathway. You're making an orbit. So as you inhale, the energy goes up your spine, top of your head gently lifts. And then you exhale and you let the energy fall down the front of your body. Inhaling up your back of your spine, exhaling, the energy flows down the front of your body, all the way back to your perineum. Let your hands also trace the pathway. Inhale up, exhale, let the energy float down the front of your body, back to your perineum. At this point, your pelvis is forward. Inhale, pelvis comes back. Energy rises up, hands rise, top of your head. Exhale, energy flows down the front of your body. Hands float down, pelvis comes forward. Inhale, up and down. A few times on your own. And you inhale, let this energy rise up, and then exhale, let it float down, cascade, pour down the front of your body, all the way to your perineum. One more time. We're about to transition because I kind of want you to be in this sweet spot where you can feel sensation, right? So you can feel sensation in your feet standing on the floor. You can feel sensation in your legs holding you up and your pelvis. You can feel sensation in your yoni. You can feel sensation up your spine, up through the top of your head. You can feel sensation down in the front of your body and in the palms of your hands, right? So I invite you to find a place to sit or to lay down so I can lead you through an inquiry. Yeah, this will be about 15 minutes or so. You can lay down, make yourself comfortable. So while you're in this beautifully relaxed and sensitive space, I invite you to anchor back into your breath. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. And tap back into that powerful part of yourself. In all of our inquiries, we connect power first. Connect with that part of you that shows up confidently, that part of you that has compassion and love, the part of you that is capable, right? So taking a breath and feeling yourself expand into that capable, powerful, loving part of you. And feel your body become spacious as your heart starts to open. And notice and feel sensations in your arms and legs and torso. And I invite you to bring that part of you that has the capacity to be a witness, an impartial observer, one who can hold different perspectives. And so now that you're in this powerful place, I invite you to get curious about your area of your life that you're focusing on during our journey, your intention, or finding that area, that pattern that keeps repeating itself. You can find that pattern because it sounds something in your head like a limiting self-talk, or oh, I don't like it, or it's ugly, or oh, no, not that, right? I want it to go away. Whatever you want, everything, whatever you might be a little embarrassed of or not want to share, right? Because you just want it to be over. So exploring from this place of power, exploring these sensations, right? And feel when you start to connect with that thing that you don't like, now start to feel the sensations that are generated from that body, that feel the pattern. And this is a sensational practice. And so feel how your body is responding to you as you start to think about that thing that you want to get rid of. Right? And so get in touch with those feelings and those emotions and those sensations, right? That are associated with the thing that you don't like, the I don't like sensation. Right? Don't worry so much about the facts of the situation. Just notice if you think about this thing that keeps showing up, notice if there's any fear or anxiety or tension or constriction or any sensation that comes up. Does your breath change or temperature? Is it possible that this might be excitement or adrenaline or intensity or arousal? flushed cheeks, faster heartbeat. That same physiological response that happens when you're with a lover. Start to focus on allowing yourself to take pleasure in the sensations and the emotions that were stirred up when you think about your I don't like situation. Remember, you're feeling the energy of your I don't like situation, and you're sensing and feeling what sensations arise. And now, as this feeling is here, the situation is here, the sensations are there, take some time to gently and vulnerably allow yourself to get in touch with these parts of yourself that have been unconscious. They might be a little taboo or kinky. Like, allow yourself to find something that you enjoy about this don't like situation. Find something that you enjoy about it. And consider that aversion or fear and desire go hand in hand. It's impossible to desire something without also fearing it a little. And it's impossible to fear or dislike something without desiring it and wanting it a little. So explore. Is there some part of you that finds it fascinating or compelling or beautiful? Yeah, it's time to let that part of you, that part of yourself, and these taboo pleasures to come into agreement, to embrace and to acknowledge each other. And so softly, temporarily put aside your ego and your usual judgments about who you are and what you want, right? And to increase your honesty here, it might be helpful to imagine that your I don't like situation will be utterly and completely removed from your life in just 1 month from now. And since this situation is going to be totally removed anyways, you can allow yourself to imagine, to relax, to open up. Allow yourself to feel just how much a secret taboo part of you actually enjoys and cherishes this right now. And that part of you has been silent up until now. And because your conscious mind has been shaming the enjoyment of this bad thing in your life, like all these bad things that were there, scarcity, rejection, self-loathing, pain, whatever it was. So since it's been silent, you might need to carefully coax her out. So let's experiment by saying some things like, I'm willing to stop pretending that I don't enjoy this tremendously. Or I'm willing to allow myself to know about my secret, weird pleasure of this unconscious enjoyment matters just as much as any other enjoyment in my life. Feeling this situation, this pattern that keeps showing up that you want to get rid of, feeling the sensations in your body, feeling yourself connecting to it, into the enjoyment of it, and saying, my enjoyment of this messed up stuff is just as worthwhile as and important as my enjoyment for sunshine and roses. I honor this desire. I respect it. I'm allowed to enjoy it exactly as much as I do. I embrace and receive these sensations. I'm willing to feel the depths of my love for this pattern, this sensation. And I'm open to feeling the wild, insane gratitude and excitement about the sensations of this situation. And if you're able to get in touch with the forbidden throb or the pulsation of the previously unconscious enjoyment, then that's wonderful, that's perfect. And often this enjoyment of this practice can be felt as jolts of electricity, tingling, genital sensation, throbbing, temperature changes, breathing changes. And just as often it can be felt like an emotional release, lightness, laughter, a sense of relief. And this is what is called getting off. So when you're getting off, that means you let yourself shamelessly celebrate in that deep way that gives you a sense of relief. Now, deliberately, consciously, humbly allow yourself to receive and feel gratitude and get off on the situation that your unconscious so brilliantly created. And let your unconscious self fully receive and enjoy and delight in the situation and the emotions that she's creating, however messed up they may be. And giving her the freedom to shamelessly receive and experience the fulfillment of her kinky desire, and to receive and delight in all the operatic, spectacular fulfillment of her perfectly reasonable enjoyment of her shadow and of scarcity and of shame and of lack. And being with this experience just a little longer, just letting it saturate in, and also knowing it's time to complete. And you can come back to this practice as often as you like. And so I invite you to start to bring your awareness back into your body and back into the room, and start to allow yourself to come back in and be fully present here. And while this experience is still fresh, I invite you to journal for a moment or two about the experience that you just had. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Starting to, and as you're journaling, be clear on the topic that you worked on, and start to think about and remember the sensations, how it felt in your body. And also be aware if you were able to get off or have any pleasure or any release on the topic. You might also want to journal about if you noticed any resistance. And just to honor our time together tonight, just allow yourself to maybe journal for another moment or two to finish that thought. while we're wrapping that up with our thoughts and journaling, I do feel like it would be good to have an opportunity to just move around and just without having any structured movement or any structured thing to integrate it, so that when we debrief, that we can kind of have an opportunity to be able to debrief. So I'm going to play this song, and this song is 8 minutes, but we're not going to dance for 8 minutes. We're going to just dance for about 4. And it's just kind of a powerful song. You've heard it before, but it just gives you an opportunity to move around and integrate. And if you want to keep journaling and do whatever you want to do in this time. This is your integration time. Okay, so I'm going to start this new song. And I'm going to kind of stretch out a little bit. Yeah, and so stay with it to the best of your ability. That I don't like thing. And ultimately, find some pleasure in it. Stretch and move and dance. Dancing with your shadow, dancing with your light, with the pleasure, with the pain. Feeling the sensation of the wholeness of your being. Letting your conscious ego mind surrender and bow to your unconscious mind. Letting that tricky little messy little thing, let it really be a fulfillment of a deep desire, that you are receiving your desires. Just another little bit and we'll come back to our seats. Just like linger in that sensation, that it's like after lovemaking, you want to still lay there. Okay. Now let's welcoming everyone back. Yeah, so I'd love to hear about what it's like to bring that don't like crummy thing in and receiving it, what your experience was like. If that was easy, if you were able, could you feel any pleasure? Was there resistance? What was the desire?
there's a huge transformation. Thank you so much. My huge taboo in throughout my life being lifted in the transformation space through releasing taboo towards my body, my own pleasure of my body. And I can feel a lot of healing coming in. It just bring me tears and just feeling loved, validated, feeling and it's okay to love my body and not resisting to my own feeling and sensuality. That was one thing that I sensed. And then there's also another sensation that come to me, just make me feel like this is what I mean to do. Always craving to be in a community, being held, and I'm already here. That I always chasing and desire, want to be, and suddenly I felt I'm already here. I don't need to go outward. I'm already here, just being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
I'm already here, validated with your sensuality and sexuality. What you're looking for, you already have.
And then at the end, I experienced this huge heart expansion. I see kind of like a ancient brush painting the field of flower, little white and pink flower. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Who wants to share their secret taboo pleasure?
I didn't have anything in particular come up for me, but I just enjoyed the meditation, getting into my body and feeling sensation.
And so remind me, your area is communication?
For my intention, self-expression. Yeah.
Self-expression.
Yeah.
And so when you lay down, were you thinking about self-expression and ways that you do or don't express yourself?
Yeah, but like it wasn't really resonating for that, because with that I shut down. And so I feel like I shut down, I go into freeze, I go into lack of sensation. So it wasn't connecting in a way with that specific thing, as far as like feeling the where it feels kinky or pleasurable or that kind of thing. Like I wasn't feeling anything like that, because when I tap into that feeling, it's a feeling of shutdown. So I tried to start thinking about, I've done a lot of personal work around where the fear of self-expression comes from. And I kind of just went on a journey of thinking about like past partners and my father and things like that caused me to shut down. But yeah.
And so when you thought about your past partners and past father, what sensations did you feel in your body? Nothing? So when you think about past partners, like right now when I say that to you, what do you?
Well, I was thinking about in relation to my self-expression. And so when I think about that my self-expression is a freeze mode thing for me. So
Right. So in the recording of this, there's also there's a edition called The Work by Byron Katie, and there's 4 questions to help you ask before you even get to this, but for time's sake, we didn't have the time to do that. And so it might be that to do, it's called the inquiry, and it'll be in the learning portal. And the inquiry, you ask these 4 questions. Okay, so I'm thinking about self-expression. Do I have no sensation? And then the question is that true? And so then you have to start to think, is that totally true that I have no sensation? And so then you're like, well, is that totally true that I have no sensation? I mean, they have maybe some sense. I mean, I don't know what you have, right? You have your own answer. But through then through that inquiry will help you find a sweeter spot to do your existential kink stuff. So if that's true and you have no sensation, it might be that how you would change your question, or it would be that you ask yourself then ultimately, who am I if I have no self-expression? Right? Who am I without that thought that I have no self-expression, right? And so it starts to become a little bit different question, but ultimately then you start to find sensation that's related to your question about self-expression. And then it's a way for you to find sensation, and then you can explore that sensation. And that sensation might not feel sexual at first, right? It might feel shut down or something else, like something else. And so then from there you start to explore. So if you're going to it and you're not able to find something, then start with the inquiry, and it's going to be in the portal, and do those 4 questions, and then kind of see how the question can then be flipped or altered or explored. And then you're looking for subtle energies. Anyways, that's why we did Qigong in the first place. Subtle energy might be not necessarily a throb in your yoni, right? That's a pretty obvious sensation, right? It might be something else.
Okay.
Right. And this type of work takes a little while sometimes, Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd be curious how that follows up, like how you find the vein and follow the vein too. Because if this is your area and you feel so blocked that there's no sensation, that's showing there's a disconnect. So it's showing that's the right place to look, to mine for gold, right? It's not obvious, right? So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. How about you, my love, Taylor?
I think that my kink that I went into was the fact that I get so hung up on one person, and then it inevitably doesn't work out. And I was just exploring like why that serves me. And I thought, like, when I was in the meditation, I came up with all these reasons. And then when I came out of it, I feel so much shame. Like it's still just so hard, I guess.
Mm. And so we just practice this for 15 minutes, right? So there's never a goal to practice this for shame. There's no, we're releasing shame. So it might be that kind of like with Julie, we had to kind of change the angle a little bit, right? To kind of change the angle is, oh, I'm so bad because I like this one person. I can totally identify with that. That's my kink, is all about me wanting to sleep with the one I'm not supposed to sleep with. I'm married to one, but I really want to be with somebody else. I absolutely want this other person that's on the other side of the world that is unavailable, and I want him. That's my kink. That's no doubt about it. Right? And so I can relate to that. So I got to change it up a little bit to get the different angle so that I can find something I feel pleasure about. Then I feel, oh, okay, I can do this practice. I can feel pleasure with it. So, I mean, and then for me, it's like, well, I don't know what it came up for you, but there's probably something about the fact that you're so dedicated and so focused on this one person that you can find a treasure. And that is amazing about you. Wow, you are like, there could be something. So just be creative, and let's stick with this, and we're going to switch into our next sessions. We're going to unlock other power centers. Um, I really feel like as I'm seeing how this is unfolding, that this is showing how potent it is, because it was kind of hard, and we had like, ooh, I don't like, and oh, and ooh. So this is showing we're touching these taboo areas that have a lot to us, and it's also showing you can't fake it. Because I want to bow out here, and I really encourage you all to listen to the audio that I recorded, because it's not just a duplicate of this, it's something much fuller. But I do want to say, it's like when you're getting off on your shadow, you can create some positive change out in the world. But it's very important that you do this practice just to do the practice, just to enjoy it for pleasure's sake and only for the enjoyment, because that is far more important than trying to do this practice so you can hurry up and like feel pleasure about it so you can get rid of it. Because if you want to feel pleasure about it so you can get rid of it, you're not really getting off on it. You're not really enjoying that it's there. You're just doing it to get rid of it. And what that's doing is you're faking an orgasm just to like get them to be done, to go away. And your unconscious mind knows you way better than that, and it won't go away. And that's called manipulation and coercion, and it doesn't work. So you have to find something that it is that you can find pleasure about. The fact that you love someone, whoa, that's pleasurable. I'm capable of loving someone, right? I have a hard time with self-expression. I have such a brilliant mind that my mind is so fucking brilliant that I don't need to be that creative, because I'm so goddamn smart. And I feel good that I'm smarter than everybody. And I know I'm smarter, and I'm all on QuickBooks, and other people can't do anything, and I can figure it out like that, and they can't do it, and I'm better, and I feel really good about that, right? And you get off on that, right? Does that make sense? So you find whatever it is that lights you up. See how I got started pink and flush, and I like to talk, so I get off on that, right? So you find that thing, and then it starts to loosen up, and then you're able, it's not like you do this practice one time and then you solve it, dissolve it, right? This is a life work, right? So I just want to say that, and inviting you, you'll have the kink, the link to the book. Julie's already read it and listened to it. I encourage you to do the same, all of you. And if you want to, you'll have the work there, and you'll also have the audio that I did and this replay, and we'll keep touching it because it's so important. And I feel like we're at a good place where we could wrap up. There's so much more we could say, but I think this is a perfect time to just kind of take a nice deep breath and remember where we've been this evening. We've gone through a little of the shadow. We've connected to our bodies. We're connecting and realizing, wow, I really do have this sense of shame. And it's so deep that it requires me to fully love it and to fully embrace it and to get creative and to kind of let go of my ego and my thinking mind, and so that I can come at it from another angle and find that one little twinge of pleasure and find that one little thing and lap it up, right? And follow that one little thing. And then you'll be creating this gorgeous unity. And then it just gets easier. So let's go ahead and come to a sense of completion for tonight. And our work is not ever completely done, but done for now. And I invite each one of us to share with what we received from this practice and from our time together when we stitch out.
I want to stitch out with patience.
Patience. I love that I'm such a patient, adoring, loving person. I'm so full of love. And doesn't that feel good in your body? Is that a real feeling good in your body?
It does, yeah, it feels nice.
Patience. Mm.
I want us to chat with presence and connection.
Presence and connection.
Stitching out sweet buzzing honey bee vibration healing.
Honey bee buzzing vibration healing. Yeah, that's a lot of sensation, vibration. That, yeah, getting kinky. Ooh. So I'm stitching out with that kind of ooh and appreciation. Appreciation. Mm. And I invite us to, would you like to debrief a little bit more and visit, or would you like to dance one more time first? Kind of how would you guys like to do this? I'm going to stop the recording.